Good morning, and welcome to the set of Economic War Room with Kevin Freeman here in Irving, Texas, where we are pleased to have, with the permission of the host and his great team, commandeered the set for a special program. It's being brought to you by the Committee on the Present Danger China, of which I am the vice chairman. I'm Frank Gaffney. I also am the executive chairman of the Center for Security Policy. And we're joined, of course, by the host himself, Kevin Freeman, who is also a member of the Committee on the Present Danger China, and two of our favorite partners in the effort to help the American people, some of whom are represented here in our studio audience, understand the character of the present and growing danger that is posed to our country, to our people, to our freedoms, to, well, more generally, Western civilization, by the Chinese Communist Party and the country that it has been misruling now for 70 years. We're going to talk about many different aspects of the threat that the CCP, as it's often called, has become. We're going to talk about the degree to which this has been developing for years under our noses. We're going to be talking about the implications of these threats for everything from the quality of our lives to perhaps our lives themselves. And not least, we're going to be talking about how did this happen? And the incredible fact that in part it's happened because we've underwritten this great and growing threat. To do that with me, I am extremely pleased to say we've put together a first string set of experts and articulate champions for rising to this threat. And I will introduce them in turn in a moment. But let me just set the stage for this conversation by saying that the Committee on the Present Danger has something of a pedigree. In fact, the present incarnation, the Committee on the Present Danger China, is very much inspired by and really modeled after one that was, I guess, the second of three previous incarnations. It was put together in 1976 by a team of national security practitioners, subject matter experts, business leaders, human rights champions, and religious freedom activists, among others. And they had, among others, as a member, a man by the name of Ronald Reagan, who turned to them in this period, in the run-up to his campaign to unseat the then incumbent president of the United States, Jimmy Carter, to help him think through and to craft, to articulate, and to socialize an alternative strategy for dealing with that time's existential threat to freedom, as he called it, namely the Soviet Union. And Reagan saw that the policies that had been practiced by successive presidents going back to Lyndon Johnson, who began what came to be known as détente, an effort to try to fashion some kind of modus vivendi, an arrangement whereby we could coexist and prosper, perhaps basically by helping the Soviet Union prosper and become thereby, it was hoped, a more benign actor, just a member of the international community. This policy of détente, as it was called, was pursued without much appreciable effect. It produced some arms control deals. It got the Soviet Union some credit guarantees and some sales of grain and other stuff. But by and large, in terms of its stated purpose, it didn't help. If anything, what we saw was as the Soviets became wealthier, they became more intent on building up their military power, on campaigning around the world to subvert Western interests, indeed our own country as well. Ronald Reagan with the Committee on the Present Danger's help, fashioned what came to be known the peace through strength strategy. It ultimately had as its explicit purpose rolling back the Soviet Union rather than propping it up. And in due course, as the campaign unfolded, and it's that proposition that we needed an alternative to Plan A, détente, began to get traction with the American people. It translated ultimately into a mandate for the elected President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, to pursue, to bring down the evil empire rather than continue to nurture it. The rest, ladies and gentlemen, as they say, is history. And it has brought us to the present moment where a new, relatively new, different, but similar existential threat to freedom in the form of Communist China and the Chinese Communist Party is now very much a problem, indeed a vastly more serious problem, for reasons we'll be discussing, than the Soviet Union was in its heyday. So in this moment, the Committee on the Present Danger China aspires to do something similar to what its predecessor did, to help define the threat, raise awareness about it, present good ideas for what to do about it, socialize those ideas, we hope particularly in the course of this election season, where, as we're fond of saying, no matter who the next commander-in-chief is going to be, no matter what their political party is, their political philosophy, they are going to find job one, certainly in the national security space, and probably economic, and it seems likely to be public health as well. They're going to find this is job one. Not only reckoning with the threat posed by China, but contending with it.